somewhere in a vault outside Shanghai, a decision was made this year that most people in the West never even heard about, and it may already be changing what your gold is worth. It didn't happen with a press conference. It didn't make the evening news, but if you trace the money, the metal, and the infrastructure, you start to see something much bigger taking shape. A years-long effort to give China and Hong Kong a much greater role in global gold trading and price discovery, challenging the traditional dominance of London and New York. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand how far that effort has already come, why it matters if you own gold, silver, or even just a savings account, and why this shift could be much bigger than most investors realize. If you're interested in money, investing, gold, silver, and protecting your financial future, subscribe to Money Insights and like this video, because every week we break down the biggest financial stories in simple English. Here's the thing most people don't realize. For decades, global gold pricing has been heavily influenced by financial markets in London and New York, even though the physical metal may be sitting thousands of miles away. When you hear the price of gold today, you're looking at prices shaped by major futures markets such as COMEX in New York, along with the London OTC market and its benchmark system. Most gold contracts are settled financially or rolled rather than resulting in a physical bar changing hands. That means the price of physical gold around the world is closely connected to financial trading activity happening far from the vaults where the metal is actually stored. For decades, that system worked largely because the major gold-producing and gold-consuming economies continued using those benchmarks as global reference prices. Producers in Australia, South Africa, Peru, and elsewhere could sell their metal against prices established in major financial centers, even when the physical gold never passed through London or New York. That meant the value of gold could be heavily influenced by traders, institutional investors, currency movements, interest rate expectations, and Federal Reserve policy thousands of miles away from where the metal was actually mined. It became one of the most important pricing arrangements in the modern gold market. But here's where everything changes. China has spent the last 2 decades building a very different kind of gold market. The Shanghai Gold Exchange, established with strong state oversight, is heavily focused on physical gold trading and delivery, creating a direct connection between exchange prices and the underlying metal. It has grown into one of the world's largest physical gold trading venues by volume. For years, that market operated alongside the traditional London and New York centers without fundamentally changing the global pricing system. But now China is building the infrastructure to connect its physical gold market more directly with international investors. And this year, that strategy moved from infrastructure on paper to something much more tangible. Then this year, China moved from building infrastructure to actually using it. On July 24th, 2026, several of China's biggest banks stopped offering individual customers access to certain precious metal trading products linked to the Shanghai Gold Exchange. For everyday investors in cities like Shanghai and Shenzhen, that meant one popular way of gaining leveraged exposure to gold and silver was being phased out. At almost the same time, Hong Kong was building something moving in the opposite direction. A new central gold clearing and settlement system, launched in trial operation earlier in July, with a physical delivery connection to the Shanghai Gold Exchange. 2 developments in the same broader strategy: tighter control over domestic paper trading, while building a larger physical gold infrastructure that can connect China with international markets. Almost nobody noticed the significance in real time. To put that in perspective, imagine if major American banks suddenly shut down a popular leveraged gold trading product for individual customers and told investors they could no longer use that particular route to speculate on gold prices. That's closer to the scale of what happened inside China's banking system. It wasn't a nationwide ban on owning gold, and it didn't force every Chinese saver to take physical delivery. Instead, several major banks moved to close or restrict specific retail precious metals trading services, citing risk management after extreme volatility. At the same time, China's broader gold infrastructure was becoming more focused on physical clearing, delivery, storage, and international connectivity. Now, why would China tighten these retail paper gold products while simultaneously expanding physical gold infrastructure? Here's the part worth watching. Physical delivery creates a much closer connection between an exchange price and the underlying metal, while reducing the role of highly leveraged retail trading in the domestic market. China's Shanghai Gold Exchange has long placed a strong emphasis on physical delivery, while Hong Kong's new clearing system is designed to add clearing, settlement, storage, and international connectivity around that physical market. The bigger question is whether this growing physical infrastructure can eventually give China and Hong Kong a larger influence over global gold price discovery, a challenge to the traditional dominance of London and New York, rather than an overnight replacement of them. That single decision has a ripple effect that most Western investors are only beginning to understand. Think about it this way. Imagine 2 grocery stores selling the exact same apples. One store lets customers trade paper contracts linked to future Apple prices, while the other focuses primarily on apples that are physically sitting on the shelves. If buyers suddenly become more concerned about actually taking possession of the product, the physical market becomes much more important. That's roughly the distinction we're seeing in gold, except apples are worth trillions of dollars. And some of the biggest buyers aren't individuals at all. They're banks, institutions, and entire nations. Consider a factory worker in Shenzhen who spends her days assembling components for electronics that get shipped around the world. She's never traded a futures contract in her life. But when her local bank restricted certain retail precious metals trading products this summer, one familiar way of getting leveraged exposure to gold and silver became less accessible. That doesn't mean she was suddenly forced to buy physical gold, but it does show how China's financial system is becoming more cautious about highly leveraged retail precious metals trading, while its broader market infrastructure continues moving toward physical delivery and settlement. Multiply that shift across millions of investors, and you begin to see why China's changing relationship with paper and physical gold matters. And speaking of nations, here's a detail that connects everything. The People's Bank of China has been buying gold for 21 consecutive months, according to the latest official reserve data. In July alone, China's central bank added roughly 20 tons of gold to its official holdings, its largest monthly increase since October 2023, pushing reported reserves to around 366 tons. The significance isn't just the size of one month's purchase, it's the consistency. China has continued adding gold through different market conditions, making the buying streak itself one of the most closely watched signals in the global gold market. That's not a hedge fund making a short-term trade. It's a central bank steadily increasing its official gold holdings as part of a much longer-term reserve strategy. But here's the part that should really make you sit up. Analysts who track central bank reserves point out that China's official gold holdings still represent only a relatively small share of its total foreign exchange reserves, compared with countries that hold much larger portions of their reserves in gold, including the United States and Germany. If China gradually increases gold's share of its reserves over time, the math suggests that substantial additional buying could still lie ahead, regardless of where the price sits in any individual month. That's a structural reserve decision, not necessarily a short-term trading strategy. And it's happening at the same time China is restricting some forms of paper gold trading at home while expanding physical gold settlement and clearing infrastructure internationally. Back in 1944, the world agreed at Bretton Woods to tie the US dollar to gold while other major currencies were linked to the dollar. That system shaped global finance for nearly 3 decades. Then, in 1971, the United States suspended the dollar's convertibility into gold, bringing the Bretton Woods system to an end, and eventually leaving the world with today's largely fiat-based monetary system. Over the decades that followed, London and New York remained dominant centers for global gold trading and price discovery. What's happening in Shanghai and Hong Kong today is different. China is building the infrastructure to give its own physical gold market a much larger role in international trading, and potentially increase its influence over how gold prices are discovered. Here's an unexpected statistic that puts this in perspective. Gold reached record levels above $5,000 an ounce earlier in 2026, before experiencing a sharp correction and then recovering. The market swings were large enough to remind investors just how volatile even a powerful gold bull market can become. And through that period of record highs, pullbacks, and renewed strength, China's central bank continued reporting monthly additions to its official gold reserves. That consistency is what makes the story so interesting. It looks much more like a long-term reserve strategy than an attempt to perfectly time short-term movements in the gold price. Now, why should any of this matter to an ordinary family watching this video from their kitchen table? Picture a retired couple who spent 30 years saving for retirement, with part of their nest egg sitting in gold coins or a gold-backed fund. The price they see quoted every day, the number that tells them whether their gold has gained or lost value, is still heavily influenced by the major pricing centers in London and New York. But if China's physical gold market continues gaining international influence, that could gradually introduce a different set of forces into global price discovery. Chinese central bank demand, Asian consumer demand, physical premiums, and movements in the yuan, alongside the factors investors already watch in the US. That's why this isn't just a story about China. It's potentially about how the price of gold itself gets determined in the future. This tiny detail changes everything about how you should think about the gold price. Here's the mechanism analysts watch closely. When physical demand in China and across Asia runs hotter than supply available locally, gold in Shanghai can trade at what's called a premium, a higher price than comparable metal is trading for in London or New York. Historically, those price differences can create an arbitrage opportunity. Traders can move physical metal from one market to another, chasing the higher price until the gap narrows again. But if China's physical demand continues to grow while its domestic market becomes more deeply connected to international vaults and exchanges, the bigger question is whether Asia could increasingly pull physical gold toward itself, and what that would mean for global price discovery. Now, here's the part that connects this whole story back to something much bigger than gold. China isn't just building a larger gold market, it's also developing financial infrastructure that could reduce its dependence on traditional dollar-based channels. Reports surrounding the Shanghai-Hong Kong gold corridor point to a growing network connecting Chinese-linked vaults, a gold clearing, yuan-denominated transactions, and international investors. Over time, that infrastructure could allow more gold-backed financing and trade settlement to take place within China's own financial ecosystem, reducing the need to rely on Western intermediaries for every transaction. Combine that with China's steadily growing official gold reserves, and a broader strategy starts to emerge. Reduce dependence on a currency and financial system China doesn't control, while increasing the role of an asset that cannot simply be printed by any central bank. This is where the Federal Reserve enters the story, even though the Fed isn't making a single decision about China's gold strategy directly. Every move China makes to expand physical yuan-based gold settlement can be viewed as part of a broader effort to reduce dependence on dollar-based financial channels and increase the role of tangible reserve assets. As of August 2026, gold remains above $4,000 an ounce after experiencing a major correction from its earlier record levels. Some of that volatility has been driven by changing expectations around Federal Reserve interest rates. But China's official gold buying has continued through those swings, reinforcing the idea that Beijing's strategy is based on a much longer time horizon than the next Fed decision. But here's where everything changes again, because it's not just China. According to the World Gold Council's latest survey of global reserve managers, roughly 9 out of 10 expect central bank gold holdings worldwide to increase over the next year. And China's buying is part of a much broader trend. Central banks in multiple regions have been increasing their gold allocations as they reassess reserve diversification, currency risk, and geopolitical uncertainty. If that trend continues, the influence of official sector demand over the global gold market could become even more important, and China's growing physical market infrastructure could give Asia an increasingly significant role in that process. There's a hidden connection here that's easy to miss if you're only watching headline gold prices. Gold trades around the clock across multiple financial centers, and Asian markets have become increasingly important to global physical demand and price formation. Hong Kong, Shanghai, Singapore, and other Asian hubs now handle significant volumes of physical gold alongside the established London and New York markets. That doesn't mean London and New York have suddenly lost control of global pricing. But if more physical demand, institutional activity, and trading volume continue moving toward Asia, the balance of influence in global gold price discovery could gradually shift as well. Let's bring this down to something even more immediate. Picture a young family filling up their shopping cart, watching grocery prices creep higher month after month. Gold is often viewed as a hedge against inflation, an asset people turn to when they worry about the purchasing power of their money. But if China's physical gold market continues gaining influence alongside the traditional London and New York markets, the forces affecting that price could become even more global. Chinese monetary policy, Asian demand, currency movements, geopolitical risk, and U.S. economic data could all matter at the same time. Gold may still serve as an inflation hedge, but understanding what actually drives its price could become more complicated in a multipolar market. And for the young professional scrolling through an investment app deciding whether to add gold to a portfolio for the first time, this shift matters in a different way. Historically, gold has often been viewed as the ultimate boring asset, something that sits quietly in a portfolio while stocks, currencies, and bonds move around it. But if gold increasingly reflects competition between different financial systems and the growing influence of Asian markets, it becomes a barometer for something much bigger. Whether the next several decades of global finance remain centered primarily on the US dollar or move toward a more contested, multipolar system where gold plays a larger role. Now, here's the reality check, because it's important not to get carried away. Despite everything we've just walked through, the US dollar still dominates global trade, global reserves, and international finance by a huge margin. London and New York remain the world's most important centers for gold trading and price discovery, and China's growing influence is nowhere near a complete replacement for that system. Analysts remain genuinely divided on how far Beijing's ambitions can realistically go. The London gold market has decades of deeply established infrastructure behind it, and replacing a global financial system takes far longer than headlines often suggest. China's capital controls and the yuan's limited convertibility also create real barriers to a rapid shift toward yuan-based international gold pricing. There's also a contradiction worth sitting with. China is simultaneously trying to build a larger role for physical and transparent gold trading, while some independent researchers have argued that Beijing's true gold holdings could be higher than the amount officially disclosed. The theory is that additional gold may be held through state-linked institutions or other channels that don't appear directly in the People's Bank of China's monthly reserve reports. If those estimates are even partly accurate, it raises an uncomfortable question. Can a system designed to promote greater transparency in physical gold price discovery fully deliver on that promise if the world's largest official buyer isn't completely transparent about its own total position? It's a fair question, and the truth is, nobody outside China's most closely guarded institutions can know the full answer with certainty. It's also worth remembering that markets rarely react to structural shifts in a straight line. Gold could move sharply higher on renewed central bank buying and geopolitical uncertainty, then pull back just as quickly on stronger U.S. economic data, higher interest rates, or a stronger dollar. Exactly the kind of volatility we've already seen in 2026. None of what we've described guarantees that gold prices will keep climbing, and it certainly doesn't guarantee China will successfully redirect global pricing power. Some Western analysts argue that China's physical-focused market could remain an important regional pricing center without replacing London or New York as the global benchmark. That's a possibility worth taking seriously, even if the alternative makes for a more dramatic headline. Which outcome actually plays out will likely depend on things well beyond gold itself. How quickly China opens its capital markets, whether major economies become comfortable with yuan-denominated settlement, and whether Western financial centers respond by strengthening their own physical delivery and clearing infrastructure. COMEX and the London market could adapt by making physical settlement more attractive, or by improving the connection between paper trading and available metal. Others argue that major reforms could be difficult because of the enormous amount of existing liquidity and leveraged trading built around the current system. In other words, this isn't a simple story of East replacing West. It's a competition between financial systems that could evolve over years rather than months. But here's what almost everyone on every side of this debate actually agrees on. The balance of power in the global gold market is becoming more contested, with Asia playing a larger role than it has for decades. Whether China eventually becomes powerful enough to challenge COMEX and the LBMA on equal terms, or simply forces Western markets to compete with a stronger physical market in the East, the old structure is facing a serious new challenge. And that matters because gold isn't just a shiny metal sitting in a vault. It's one of the assets governments turn to when they want to diversify away from currencies and financial systems they don't completely control. And that same dynamic can ultimately affect the value of the gold ordinary investors hold. So let's go back to where we started. A vault outside Shanghai, a quiet series of decisions that most people never heard about. Here's the answer to the mystery we opened with. China isn't simply trying to buy more gold. It's building a larger ecosystem around physical gold trading, clearing, settlement, and international delivery, giving Shanghai and Hong Kong a greater role in a market historically dominated by London and New York. It began with tighter restrictions on certain retail precious metals trading products inside China. It expanded through Hong Kong's new gold clearing infrastructure and its connection with the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And it's been reinforced month after month by a central bank that has continued adding gold to its official reserves for 21 consecutive months. None of this means the dollar collapses tomorrow, or that COMEX and the London market become irrelevant next year. But it does mean the next time you check the price of gold, you're looking at a market increasingly influenced by two powerful forces at once: the established financial centers of New York and London, and the growing physical demand, trading infrastructure, and institutional activity coming out of Shanghai, Hong Kong, and the wider Asian market. The question isn't whether one side suddenly replaces the other. The more interesting question is how much influence each side will have over the price of gold 5 or 10 years from now. Think back to that retired couple at the kitchen table, the factory worker whose savings options just changed, and the young professional deciding whether gold belongs in a first-ever investment portfolio. None of them work in finance. None of them will ever place a trade on the COMEX. And yet all three are connected, whether they realize it or not, to a much bigger shift happening across the global gold market. A competition between established Western financial centers and a rapidly expanding Asian physical gold ecosystem. For decades, London and New York have been at the center of global gold trading and price discovery. Today, that dominance is still very real, but it is no longer the only story investors need to understand. For anyone who thought gold's price was simply the market deciding, it may be time to look more closely at who is building the markets, moving the physical metal, and shaping the demand behind that price. If you learned something new today, make sure to subscribe to Money Insights and like this video. More powerful financial insights are coming next.